I'm a bad motherfucker.
That time you said it. While we're paused, I looked up the governor that people were asking. So that was Ralph Northam, who said that parents can have a conversation after the baby is born, and that was taken as an endorsement of, post-birth abortion. It turns out, from what I'm reading, the full context of that was that he was talking about the parents deciding what to do with a fetus that was born out of the womb with severe abnormalities and or just an unviable fetus.
Due to abortion? Due to the
just
abortion
because
process?
if they happen to carry an unviable fetus to term and they have to kill it after it's born, that's what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about killing a viable baby. Now, if people have a problem with that, well, that just strengthens what I was saying. Because that's what you're worried about in the case of incest, right? You're worried about a baby being born deformed because of inbreeding and stuff like that. So, I mean, well, what do you want? Anyway, go ahead.
This is Russell Dobular on the Jimmy Dore Incest Hour.
Take that from
you
the
incestuous couples out there, this is a safe space.
I'm pretty sure you can't say incest within the first 15 seconds.
Probably.
So maybe take that one.
I keep saying I'm going to read the guidelines.
Yeah.
Need to get to that.
I don't know that's a rule, but I have a feeling.
It just feels like it's true. All right, so fun segment. The Rock versus The View. Get ready to rumble. So The Rock went on Fox News. Last election, he endorsed Joe Biden. And so he was asked, he was on the WeAreChange show. And he was asked if he was going to make an endorsement again. And his answer caused a lot of reactions.
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this. This is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no. I'm not going to do that, because what I realized, and I didn't realize it back then, Will, but I realize it today. And back then, just like I am today, very lucky, I was then the most followed American man in the world, and I am today the most followed American man in the world, and I appreciate that. But I also realized that what that caused back then was something that tears me up in my guts back then and now, which is division. And that got me. And I didn't realize it then. I just thought, hey, our country feels like there's a lot of unrest. It feels like I would like things to calm down. Maybe we need a change. This is what I'm going to do, and this is who I'm going to endorse. The takeaway after that, months and months and months, I started to realize, like, oh man, that caused an incredible amount of division in our country. So I realize now, going into this election, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't do that, because my goal is to bring our country together. I believe in that in my DNA. So in the spirit of that, there's going to be no endorsement. Not that I'm afraid of it at all, but it's just I realize that this level of influence, I'm going to keep my politics to myself. And I think it's between me and the ballot box. But I will tell you this. While, like a lot of us out there, not trusting of all politicians, I do trust the American people, and I trust that whoever they vote for, that's going to be my president, and that's who I'm going to support 100%.
I trust, by the way, I feel the exact same way. I trust Americans.
Yes.
No matter the state of this country, no matter its political leadership, I inherently trust the moral backbone, the culture that is uniquely American.
Okay, so for those of you who are too young to remember, you know what he sounds like? A movie star from back in the day. Because it used to be, you didn't know who these people voted for. I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of people call him the last movie star. You know who Tom Cruise votes for? How it used to be. Because they saw themselves as being an entertainer for all the people. And not all of them, but most of them felt like getting into presidential politics like that would, on a commercial level, damage their brand, because then you have a big swath of the population that's not going to want to see your stuff. And you could definitely argue that part of the troubles Hollywood is having now is a result of having an entire generation of actors who have all taken one political perspective and been very vocal about it and lost a huge swath of the country's interest in the work they produce as a result of that, because they see them as enemies and they've gone out of their way to present themselves like that. So The Rock, now, a lot of people have distorted what he said and took the quote out of context. It rips me up inside. They've tried to make it that was some kind of a statement about how he felt about the fact that he had voted for Biden, when obviously he's saying he's sorry that he put himself in a position of causing division in an already contentious country. Keaton?
Well, people have also been like floating that he should run for president.
I'm going to get into that.
Remember that? Like back, even in like the mid-aughts, people were like, "Oh, The Rock should run for president." And I just wonder what the origin story is of people giving a shit what he thinks about anything. Like, why him? Is it just because he's a big star?
I think it's because he said it himself. He's the most followed man in America. That's why. And he's very liked. He's likable. Look, in that little clip, whatever you think of what he said, he's likable. He reads as a very likable guy. I do think that Trump becoming president with no experience did lower the bar on what people expect. I think they're much more open to the idea of just grabbing a likable guy.
Well, sure thing. But they've been talking about him running even before Trump.
He talks about. I've got a clip of him with Rogan at the end where he talks about that. He's clearly decided not to go that way. So it's from the Washington Examiner. This is the ladies of the View. I gotta say, other than Sunny Hostin, who seems to be, their resident person with the horrible takes weren't terrible. They definitely could have been worse. So let's take a look.
He's been quite political. I agree with you. And he's been very engaged and very involved. I do think we're living in a time where we have someone running for president that is an existential threat to democracy. Right? That is where we are at. Someone who has 88, criminal charges, 4 indictments, someone that has vowed to be a dictator on the very first day he takes office. Now is the time. If you have a platform, you must be active. You must speak out. That's how I feel.
I was a little bit surprised that The Rock said this, because I consider him kind of an activist in the sense that he at one point talked about potentially running for office. There was a poll that said as many as 46% of Americans would want him to run for office. So I thought it was notable in an election with the stakes this high that this is the time he chose to sit it out. But that said, I completely agree with Sarah's point, which is I don't know that The Rock has a core constituency. It's not like Republicans are waiting to hear what he says or Democrats are and they're going to decide based on that. The most important thing he could do is encourage young people to get out and vote and let them make up for themselves.
And is he doing it?
But there are some endorsements that I think have mattered tremendously. I remember when Oprah Winfrey endorsed Barack Obama when he was running.
That's true.
And that one was incredibly significant, made a difference. She not only endorsed, she went out and campaigned.
She might do it. And she wanted to do that and she felt that to her bones.
Right,
and that is great.
Listen, if they don't want to get involved, respect to them. If they want to get involved and use their platform, leave them alone too.
Which I would say that's fair enough. I think generally they're right. It doesn't really matter. Although if The Rock actively campaigned for somebody, we're just talking about elections that are decided on the margins. But I don't know. I think he would probably be more likely to damage his own brand. In terms of what Sunny Hostin had to say, which again, the queen of bad takes, the rest of them were pretty reasonable here. Okay, so Julian Assange is dying in a prison in England. Biden could drop those charges on any given day. He's not doing it. They challenged the lower court ruling up to the Supreme Court regarding the right of the intelligence services to intimidate tech platforms regarding censorship. So the whole argument that Trump is an existential threat to democracy in a way that Biden isn't, I mean, that's the point RFK was making. And yeah, man, I'm no RFK fan, but the fact that you're not giving Secret Service protection to an actual candidate, I mean, he's not like a joke candidate like Marianne, who's never going to be on any ballots. Like, he's actually going to be on ballots. That is a disgrace. Like, you're not going to give a Kennedy Secret Service protection? Are you serious? So he's right about that. So, that whole argument, I don't think really lands with people. Keaton?
Yeah, well, there's not much in it to endorse a candidate in a race where both candidates are pretty horribly unpopular. Like, both of these candidates are widely disliked by most people. And most of the support for each candidate has to do with hatred of the other one more than love of the candidate. So there's really nothing in it for you as an apolitical public figure to inject yourself into this. And that's why I think he's not going to. There's really no point to doing it. And as for this being such a high stakes election where the future of democracy is on the line, well, the only people who really feel that way are the people who are die in the wool, blue no matter who anyway. And so what? If The Rock endorses Biden, he'll make them happy. He's not bringing in any people, I don't think, and so, yeah, it makes no sense that he would get, involved either way.
All right. So now a point I think a lot of us made in 2016 and in 2020, and we make all the time, is the vote blue no matter who people are the Republican Party's greatest asset. And the Trump derangement syndrome people, all the more so. They are really like a living advertisement for voting for Donald Trump. When you look at these people like Keith Olbermann foaming at the mouth. But this is Jennifer Lewis. She was an actress on Blackish. She's been around for a long time, both in TV, film, stage as well. This has been going around. This clip went kind of viral. She went onto a podcast and made some really, really interesting claims about why you're not allowed to sit out this election and why everyone has to get involved.
As soon as he takes the oath, he will have generals walk down the steps of the Capitol. He will take a hammer and break the glass where the Constitution is, and he will tear it up in our faces. And say, now, I'm the king of the fire.
That's so funny.
You will
That's so good.
Down, bitches. He will punish everybody that didn't vote for him. Let me tell y'all how I know this shit. I know it because I know what mental illness looks like.
You know what mental illness looks like, yeah.
That mania is unstoppable.
Is that right? Wow.
See, this motherfucker's Hitler. He didn't come to play.
As I've always said, Donald Trump is very lucky in his enemies. If I were Donald Trump, I would send her out to campaign for Joe Biden.
Is it too late to book her on Wednesday? That would be awesome.
Okay, so as a man coming out of the theater, I got to tell you, I would cast her all day and all night. She'd be great. But this is why, as a rule, I think The Rock is right. Actors shouldn't talk about politics because this is what you get when they start talking. Keep it on the stage. Keep it on the stage. I would cast her in a heartbeat. I'm sure she's brilliant on the stage, judging by this. But when you apply it to politics, it looks a little unhinged. Looks a little unhinged. This is it, all the conservatives love this clip now. They're spreading it around. This is what you get because you watch this. Do you want to vote the way that she thinks you should vote, or do you feel like, wow, maybe I better look at this guy because she's against him? How bad could he be?
I mean, I want to look at Trump because I'm excited at what he might do. I mean, that would be the greatest inauguration speech ever. Rather than him swearing on a Bible, you know, they had you put your right hand on the Bible. They wouldn't have a Bible. They'd wheel out the Constitution in the glass case. They'd give him a hammer. All right, you're sworn in. Bang!
I'm the king of this bitch now.
I'm the king of this bitch now. Guards, come in. Round up everyone who didn't vote for me. I mean, that's a show. I would vote for him based on what she is saying. Even if she is telling the truth, I'd be like, that sounds epic. That sounds like a way to end a country that's on its way out anyway. Who gives a fuck? Let's do it that way.
You know, actually, that's
a lot more fun than thank you, my fellow Americans, for entrusting me with a second term. Who wants to go out like that when you can go out like this?
It does have a certain Vegas floor show kind of an appeal. If Trump were actually to break the glass with a hammer and say,
break the glass with a hammer.
I'm king of the world now, bitches.
Supreme Court justice hands him a hammer. Boom. I'm the king now, bitches.
All right, so she's threatening us with a good time. That's your take.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. That sounds amazing. I love that idea.
She seriously miscalculated by painting that image because you're not the only person I've seen say that. Actually, Greg Foreman on the Black Conservative, he showed that video and he said, if Trump actually did that, that would be pretty based. All right. So you mentioned that The Rock has been talked about in this political context. So he did an interview with Joe Rogan mentioning he got approached by both political parties to run for president, apparently.
Oh, at the end of last year, asking for me to run.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it was...
For president?
For president.
Wow.
It was, first of all, incredibly surreal.
Right.
Because I was the guy, you know, who was wrestling in flea markets years ago, looking for free corn dogs and hot dogs and selling my headshots for $5, trying to make money. And then all of a sudden I'm having that conversation. But no, it was just incredibly surreal and so wild, but also so incredible that they had all this data that they had said, if this happens, here's the result. And,
wow.
It was really deep. And then I started to think, again, surreal, because that's never been my goal, right? I appreciate it, and I'm honored, right? Because I'm like you in here, in our core, right? But it made me think, it's either this is an incredible thing, and I got some pretty decent leadership skills, or things are so up.
They're turning to the pro wrestling movie star. They try to run the world. I would say the latter. No insult to The Rock. He seems like a perfectly nice guy. But yeah, yes. Does it say something about the state of the world that basically they approached a gladiator and asked him to be the emperor? Yeah, sure it does. Keaton?
Yeah, and you know, like that last video that we played prior to that is just more evidence of why he is not going to get involved, right? I always thought it was weird.
He needs a hole in his head.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't need it. Like when Oprah endorsed Obama, whatever you feel about Obama, there was a real movement behind Obama. She was attaching herself to something that was seen as this very positive thing amongst a huge cohort of the population. Picking sides between Trump and Biden is the exact opposite move. But as for, I mean, I know he was approached. I remember hearing this when I was, 18, 19 at the time, you know? I mean, we're talking about the aughts. And I just asked myself, why? Is it just star power? Is it that he is sort of universally popular in a way that a lot of, as you said, sort of like old time celebrities were? Of course, they were popular precisely because, or not entirely because, but partly because they did not inject themselves into fights like that. And so the concept never really made much sense to me. And I do think those were the early symptoms of a dying empire, that he was being talked to by each major party long before Trump came around. I mean, we're talking about 2005, 6, 7, because I remember hearing those rumors during the Bush years when I was in high school.
I did not know it went back that far, because what he's talking about, that he was approached by both parties, apparently that was around 2022, like pretty recently. That
I remember hearing about The Rock running for president.
Yeah, I didn't realize it
going
went
back
many,
many years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because everyone likes him, and that is so rare now. That's so rare. I mean, what the Young Turks were talking about there with Jon Stewart. I mean, conservatives wouldn't vote for Jon Stewart. Most conservative-leaning independents wouldn't vote for Jon Stewart. You'd just be running another lib. So it's just you're going to have the lib voters that would be for Jon Stewart. Not only that, the lib voters who are willing to cross the Democratic Party.
Right.
How many of those are there?
Right. Exactly.
All right. Exactly. Misha, to you.
Okay. Rory.
If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle-dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate shitty coffee? I, for one, really hate shitty coffee, which is why I'm excited to introduce to you a company that's revolting against shitty coffee, and it's called the 1775 Coffee Company. Now, I haven't had it yet because I only drink decaf. Steph has had it. Steph, how do you like it?
I really like it. I've been, you know what? I have a French press, and so I've been using my French press and totally enjoying it. It's delicious. It's smooth. It's smooth.
So 1775, the world awakened. In 1775, the world awakened to a new era. And now it's 1775 Coffee Company is bringing you a coffee that embodies that revolutionary spirit. Crafted with passion and precision, our beans are ethically and exclusively sourced from the finest coffee beans farms of Bolivia. Didn't know that. 1775 Coffee Company's farm-to-cup journey ensures the highest quality of authenticity and sustainability from start to finish. With each sip, your palate will recognize and appreciate the dedication and passion that goes into crafting this single-sourced brew. 1775 Coffee Company takes pride in offering customers a truly exceptional coffee experience with their premium coffee collection. But their dedication to this revolution extends beyond the realm of taste. Safeguarding freedom of speech is critical right now, which is why 1775 Coffee Company has joined forces with Rumble in defense of one of our most fundamental rights, freedom of speech. Coffee that's sure to awaken all your senses, including the sense of freedom. So choose 1775 Coffee by going to 1775coffee.com/litter. That's LITTER, and use the code LITTER for 10% off the checkout on your first order. 1775 Coffee, brewed to perfection, crafted with revolution.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit